Call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge.
To the flag of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Approval of the agenda. There's action item number 3. Mary, can you mute, please? Thank you. Which number 3 needs to be pulled because that was actually a request for a workshop. Correct?
Action 3?
I have your capital improvement.
Is that right, Brian?
Yeah, we already discussed it, but I wasn't sure if there
Yep.
was more, so it's my bad in putting it on there.
No, that's fine.
All right, we can fix that.
That's all I got right now. Who else has anything? Bring anything else to add or subtract? Move? If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second,
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approval of the previous minutes, board meeting minutes, August 6th, which I was not in attendance, so I will recuse myself from this, but everybody's had a chance to look at those. Any additions or corrections? If not, is there a motion to approve?
second, went real quick.
Okay, any?
We had a short agenda.
Actually, you had a long agenda, so I'm impressed that it went quick.
Now I got you.
Any if there's no other comments or is there a motion to approve?
Is it all done already?
Oh, did we already do that? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Favor, sorry. You confused me, you threw me off. Dude.
Come on, Joe.
All right, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign, I recuse. Workshop session, August 13th, 2024. Everybody's had a chance to look at those minutes. Is there any additions or corrections?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve?
That was the motion.
I made the motion, I seconded.
Yeah, you asked for an emotion. I said, well, it's the vote time now.
Is there? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign.
Okay.
All right, public comment. Anybody in public comment? Nobody's there for public comment. Closed session is gonna be at the end, so we'll move that towards the end. Consent agenda. There's two things that see, Tess isn't here, but 5 and 6 for the banding change from B23 to the B24. That actually should be effective May 6th because that was when it was brought up the first time and was tabled. And then we looked into it some more and had a discussion. So I've talked to Carol about it and we thought that'd be the time to backdate it to May 6th.
And it'd be the B24 step 7s for both going back to 5, 6.
Yep.
And that's actually, it was presented at the May 21st, I believe, board meeting, but May 6th was when the band came back. It's typically when-
Right.
So can you tell me what the difference is between B 24 and B 25? Dollar wise? Is that the same, about the same as 23 to 24, $1.69?
It should be understood that that's gonna be looked at in the future.
Okay.
I just had a question too on the Darlene Johnson, so. She's going from part-time to full-time. But then we're also approving a leave of absence.
Probably could address that.
Yeah, Darlene Johnson is in the License Center. She was hired part-time. She's got 2 kids getting married this fall. So all these plans were made as she was still part-time. So as our full-time position came available, she did apply for it, and did get it. So we are trying to, with the leave of absence in there, make it work for everyone involved best we can.
Okay,
How long are we at?
It's about 2 weeks in there, I think.
and from 10/22 to 11/08.
That sounds about right. Yep. Yep, that is correct.
All right. Anything else? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
That's,
With the changes,
They,
All the dates.
the effective date for 5 and 6
Mhm.
to May 6th,
May 6th or 9th?
May 6th.
May 6th, okay.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Moving on to action items. Action item number 1, consider approving resolution number 2425 aquatic invasive species prevention aid. You all seen that? Polly, did you present this or?
no, Janice Mesner requested it.
Yeah, from Soil and Water. It's something we do all the time.
Is this an outside contract, I believe?
It's a resolution for program aid. Carol, you have more to add to this or?
We've been doing this annually since basically the aquatic invasive species aid came into play. Soil and Water is able to meet the requirements of getting the money, so it's much like the water plan grant. The grant comes to us, but they do the work.
Yep. So
It's a good thing because preventing the species from taking over.
Yep.
Move to approve resolution 24-25 aquatic invasive species prevention.
Second.
motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Action item number 2, consider appointing David Melvstead of La Crescent to fill a vacant position on the Parks Committee. Holly.
Yes, so Dave is a seasonal camper at Wildcat. He has some good insight of the park and from a different perspective than the rest of the committee. So we thought he'd be a good fit to fill the vacancy.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to appoint David Melvstead.
is there a second to that?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I've known the man since the 90s, so. He enjoys camping and he's got good ideas.
Good.
Thank you.
There's no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, action item number 3 has been pulled. Action item number 4, consider reviewing and approving a contract with Bolton Mink to prepare runway 1331 clear zone acquisition plan. Brian,
Morning, commissioners. So MnDOT Aeronautics would like to have all the airports in the state have a clear zone acquisition plan in place to kind of protect the end of the runways, so people don't build up and develop areas along the edge of the runway that impacts future airport operations. So this is something that the state is going to be putting out grants. We actually have a grant offer submitted to us that we can't put into place until this contract's done first. But essentially the state will pay for 75% of the cost of a clear zone acquisition plan. And then what this plan is going to do is when we submit for future projects with funding for the state funding for the airport, it'll give that project a 15-point bump, so 15% bonus to get funded if you have a clear zone acquisition plan in place. So if you don't have one, every other project that does, they get a 15% better, or bonus or odds of getting funded and selected over our projects. So kind of something that that we should be doing. Cost of this contract with Bolton and Mink is $10,000. 75% would be paid for with that future grant to be coming back to the board with next month or two. So then the actual local cost would be $2,500.
Like this, with regard to funding on any project, which would include the T hangers that we're talking,
Any project that has any state money, yes.
15%. A big advantage to getting your funding.
is this in any way help for clearing like trees and stuff?
This will also, this in combination with the approach procedure that's being developed by the FAA will help determine, for clear trees. Tree clearance.
I know we've got discussions about cutting trees down out there. or whatever. On someone on private property.
Yeah, but a lot of that's gonna be based on the approach procedure being developed, that we'll have an answer back in that probably in about 1.5 years. But this is still, trees definitely impact.
Any other questions? Not, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Thanks, Brian. Action item number 5, consider approving contract with Next Chapter Technology for Caseworks accounting version. Program. John.
Morning. Morning. So this is related to the technology stuff that we talked a few times about. This project is for our accounting division. It is using DHS MA unwind funds for the project cost. And then there is a small maintenance fee that is an annual fee that's built into our ongoing budget. It's connected to the other projects we have with Next Chapter. Again, if you recall this, we worked with Next Chapter when we had to make a quick change from our EDMS system that was hosted in Winona County a couple years ago. And so this would be consistent with the same platform for accounting.
So the total cost is 58,000?
Correct. That's the cost that will come out of that grant. It's one-time project costs. So that's essentially paying Next Chapter to go through our processes and our documents and put it all together.
Okay.
And then there's a software maintenance that I think in the first year it's 11,000. That's an ongoing expense.
That's 11,000 every year maintenance?
Yeah.
I understand that most counties are on this.
Most counties do have, the economic assistance and the social services. That we'll be talking about later, I think 60 some counties. Many of those counties also are doing the accounting side of it. I'd say not as many as 16, but many. I don't know the exact number. They really have, a pretty significant market share of this human services, data management, document management software. At least in the state of Minnesota.
58,000.
58,000 we can cover with a grant that we received from DHS for MA Online, so there's no cost to the county for that. It's also cut by, I spoke with the vendor yesterday and it looks like we're gonna hop on with another county. And so we'll get another 5% discount off of that price.
But it's all coming out of.
The annual maintenance will be part of our annual budget.
Yeah, I see here it goes from the 25 to 28. It gradually increases, I noticed at the end there.
Yeah,
So the last year it's 13,097.
they typically do have an escalator like that.
You'd think it would get cheaper because they maintain it.
There's a lot of things I think technology should make cheaper.
This technology will last us for quite some time, is the way we.
We're hoping, I think the fact that they have such a market share in the state of Minnesota will make this. Our relationship with them a little more durable. They also have kind of something they call continuous, upgrades, so it isn't like you get to the end of after a couple of years and it's like now your product is kind of obsolete. They continually upgrade, and so you have the latest versions of their stuff. That's part of that ongoing maintenance. But predicting what technology will do well into the future is difficult. So kind of hedging my comments there, but I think this is the company that is doing business with the lion's share of counties in the state, and I would anticipate that will continue.
And this kind of coincides with our action 6 and 7 too, because the technology is with the same company and
Correct.
steps, and some of it's gonna be ARPA money, some of it will be whatever. Okay.
Mhm.
With the information provided, I move that we approve the contract to go with Caseworks.
Next Chapter Technology. Is there a second to that? Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, number 6, consider approving allocations of ARPA funds and contract with Next Chapter Technology for Caseworks. So social services.
This one, we've talked about quite a bit as well. This, I would be looking for an allocation of ARPA dollars to cover the project costs. This is also driven by a quick change. We had a relationship with Northwoods for a product called Traverse for 7 years. They are making a change to their platform that would require us to change all of our hardware and move to an iOS or Apple environment. That'll be happening at the beginning of the year. With that said, as I'm looking at this morning, I'm not sure about these numbers. I want to call them back because they're not consistent with what they've told me all along. So I don't know if it's a typo or whatever, but I'd ask that we put this one on hold until next week. Because,
I was gonna ask you what the numbers were.
right, as I was looking at it this morning, I mean, we've gone back and forth on this contract a number of times. I'm thinking it was a mistake or something.
Okay.
I know the person that we're working with on this was on the road as she was putting together the final touches on the contract, bringing her daughter to college out east, and so we were on the phone back and forth. But all the numbers we've talked about consistently, what I came forward with a projection, this isn't matching that. I want to make sure that that's what we approve as a contract and not come back and make amendments to it.
Okay, so we're gonna table number 6 then.
Right.
All right,
One thing I'd say, the number that we've had all along is 90, I believe it was. You know what? Let's do that all in one fell swoop.
so we should do number 7 later too.
We can, I don't have a contract for the data transfer. Typically, we don't know exactly what that's gonna be until we get closer to the project. There isn't a pressing need for that. The one that was really a pressing need was the one you just approved so that we get that project rolling.
All right, we'll table number 7 as well, if that's in agreement with everybody else. So did John, did you get on was that on the list for the ARPA allocation?
I know I've talked with Carol about it a number of times. We've talked about it. Whether it's on the list, I haven't seen the ARPA list.
Was it on the list, Carol, or was that?
It was not, I just gave you the list so that you could see the balance.
All right, we'll table those 2.
I will have those back and ready for you at the next board meeting. So I apologize for that.
Okay,
Surprised when I looked at that this morning.
all right,
We need good information. Thank you.
thank you.
All right.
Action item, consider purchasing vehicles. Mr.
We
Bernard,
have a whole bunch of stuff to look at. There's ages, pricing. Who's got what for a warranty? We need to discuss 2 vehicles. Now, the Apple Auto. That we've got, there's 1 page of vehicles that they don't have in stock that they could get. So we wouldn't be able to get that page right away, so. Include that as part of our decision making. One thing I'd say is that there was 2016 Tesla electric, that doesn't have a lot of miles, but I don't think we want to go electric. We don't have chargers, what have you. Right. We have to put in a charger. Yeah, so I think we should throw that one out. Everything I told people was we wanted 2 vehicles, one with 20 to 30,000 miles and one with 40 to 50,000 miles, so that we start getting into our rotation. Get rid of a vehicle at 3 years, get rid of a vehicle at 5 years. Give or take. The Lewiston vehicles all have a 6-month, 6,000 mile warranty if they're not already under warranty, manufacturer's warranty. The other 2 used vehicle sales places in Houston County are 1 month or 1,000 miles. Either, all. The Traverse, there's a 2016 Traverse, and I haven't driven any of these. I haven't gotten in to see if there's any smell. So that'll have a bearing as far as whether we actually buy it or not. But Reverse, although it's got 48,000 miles, it is a 6-cylinder vehicle and fairly, it's a bigger vehicle. told everybody, we want all wheel drive and everything. So it's a question of how much we want to spend. Yeah. And I personally like the Traverse. Because it's a bigger vehicle with mileage about where we wanted it to be. And a pretty reasonable price. I don't know if there's damage to the vehicle or not, so I gotta check it out. That was first choice. 13.5,
15.5.
And it's got 40,000 miles
48, 331.
for 2016.
Mhm.
So fairly low miles.
That seems a little odd.
Yeah, it does.
Depends on the owner or who had it.
Well, it was a repair.
It's a 17 Edge with 33,000 miles on it, 16.7. And there's the Equinoxes. An Apple 17.5. 40, just about 42,000 miles. Titanium Edge is kind of fancy. I don't know. If people fancy. I told them we wanted plain Jane cars. So
Yeah,
60,000 miles. I don't know much about Volkswagens.
Reliable vehicle. Ford Edges are pretty good too. We've owned 2 of them or 3 of them.
It's reasonable mileage on that too.
No, they're not. It's only got the 2-liter engine.
But it's similar to an Equinox.
Right. They're 3.6 liter.
Those are good motors.
I was looking at the list and I saw that 19 Equinox from Lewiston for 17.9. And then I saw the 19 Equinox from Apple for 17.5. The Apple with 41 or 42,000 basically miles. I don't know what, but the thing too is for $500, $495 more, you get the 6-month warranty with the Lewiston 2019.
But
I mean, they're-
31,000 more miles. They're going from 72,000 miles at Lewiston to 42,000 miles.
I mean, I didn't have the mileage on that Equinox. That was my question. What was the number on that then?
72,043.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you. I couldn't find the mileages on the chart.
Tri-States.
We could do one tri-state and one Apple and keep everything in Houston County.
Yep.
30 days or 1,000 miles, it's the same either way.
Convenience to get them repaired if need.
If anything, we'll throw in the first 30 days.
But that Edge from Tri-State, that 17 Edge. Is that a little bit bigger vehicle? I'm not familiar with that personally.
They're a mid-size.
It's mid-size like the Equinox time,
Pretty close, yeah.
They're in that.
and that's.
Equinox
class,
size, yeah.
So we need to decide on 2 of them. Correct?
2 for sure, not 3, because it's got 3 cars coming off lease here next month.
We already bought the new.
We bought the new ones.
They're doing this part of that 3 group.
Yeah,
Okay, excuse me, okay, 2. I'm looking at that 19 Equinox from Apple. And that 16 Traverse from Price. It's my choice.
What are you thinking, Bob?
I agree.
You've been dealing with those.
That traverses the 48,000 miles is not bad mileage. for
3,000
6-cylinder.
cheaper.
Pretty good, and it gives us one vehicle that's got some pretty good size to it. I'll tell you,
So if they have,
Are you gonna pick an alternate if there's something issue with that one at Tri-State?
Right.
Or at-
I'd say the Equinox from Apple, the Traverse from Tri-State, and if either one isn't good, the Ford Edge. Tri-State.
that's fine.
I know that.
I just questioned that Traverse with that. Price
The
of
age
whole
and
miles, I mean, is there a code issue with that thing, you know, we have a lot of those.
It's 8 model years old, too.
Hmm?
It's 8 model years old,
Mm-hmm.
so. It's probably in that price range.
Price range, yes, mileage wise. Could have been some lady that had it in the garage for 3 years.
Right.
Just took it to church on Sunday.
Oh, yeah, well, we've all had this. All the statistics.
They pull Carfax and all that for you.
Do they?
Wasn't it?
Find out with the Carfax. Huh? I agree with those 3 with the alternate.
So,
Can you read them again?
yeah, you wanna read that?
Sorry.
Is someone gonna make a motion to this?
I will make a motion. That we acquire after inspection. Apple Autos 2019 Equinox, 41,901 miles. For 17,499. Tri-State's 2016 Traverse. 48,331 miles on it, 13,500, assuming everything is good. With an alternate for the Tri-State 2017 Ford Edge that has 32,927 miles on it for 16,007.
And where is the Ford Edge from?
Ford Edge is also from Tri-State.
Okay.
There's two Tri-States, one Apple.
That's a motion, Bob.
That's a motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Good that up, Robert. Well, you did it too.
Good thing you like car shopping, Bob.
Is your toe tired by kicking tires? all
Yeah,
the
you
time?
got a sore toe from kicking all in tire.
Biggest thing is making sure I don't have a plug nose.
All right, we'll move on to action number 9. Consider approving board ratification of the 2025-2027 Tri-Min Systems Addendum, the 22 and 24 master agreement for integrated financial systems support. Carol.
That's a
This-
mouthful.
This is the support contract for 2025 to 2027 for our financial system that we use for preparing your reports, the trial balances, the linking the money in or the report information into the budget spreadsheet server that we have. Print the checks, receipts, all go through there. We've had the system probably since I've been here. It did move from the AS400 to, it's actually still in the AS400, but it's a GUI interface. It's, relatively user-friendly, and most counties a lot of counties in Minnesota use the program, so I believe Winona County a couple of years ago decided they were going to switch, but they couldn't find a product that actually provided the capabilities that this one does, so they have moved back to IFS. Oh.
Just continuation of our,
Mhm.
something we really actually need to have.
Yes, we do, unless you want to start bringing some ledger paper, which I'm not really up for that.
We'll make a board ratification. For the MCC Tri-Mini Systems
Motion's been made. Is there a second to that for the master agreement? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Action number 10, can discuss and consider possible action regarding HR contract and facilities.
Well, I guess I'd have to say that I was kind of out last week with grandkids and fair, so I didn't get back all the information that I'm looking for.
So we're just,
To make a decision. I would like to, probably just keep this on the agenda and maybe meet later in the week.
Yep.
I think we definitely want to meet with Brian. We're looking at a permanent move of facilities to highway, or if we're looking at a temporary as we move forward. Looking at a different, for the HR director, I guess it would probably be my recommendation that the HR office be encompassed in the administrator's office going forward, rather
Okay.
than a standalone department. Provide some, a few more, another body or two to help do things. So that would kind of be my recommendation, and we'll take a look at that further. Getting some job descriptions. I have a few to look at.
okay,
So
so
kinda
later
what
in the week, you can set up and, just let me know or
Mhm.
whatever.
I mean, are you farming, haying? You think?
I'll make time.
Okay.
We need more info. I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably not something that's just gonna change tomorrow or next week, but
Mhm.
we need to have a plan.
Yep.
Mhm. So that's really all I have right now for that and for the updates. There's just been things going on in different departments that just looking at. Mhm.
No action.
Basically table it for
Right.
future review.
Carol and I will meet later this week. Whenever works out for you all.
Okay.
Schedule it.
So you've been running this building that for facilities like boilers and stuff like that, you'll be running that. You'll be in charge of that.
That's what we need to figure out. Mhm.
You're gonna have to have boilers license.
Yeah, and I'm not sure which of the staff do have the boilers license that are required. I know the new person was working on getting, but there's different levels of
Right,
it also.
Right.
So,
I was
Oh,
gonna say, we should have
I
two
thought you
people,
left. Mhm.
Greg and Mike, or
Greg and Michael.
that's what I figured. Yep.
Yeah,
Alright.
so, and we'll meet with Tess to get the rundown and
They have various experience on
Mhm.
building sculptures. State of Minnesota, I think that's Greg. Different clearances to get into the, do the secure work of the facilities behind in the jail facility.
are the IT rooms also restricted at all, or?
Well, the IT room over at the Justice Center is, but we're talking about that right now to be able to get access to that, in light of the recent, I think it was a fan failure.
Tess, maybe you should come forward so people can hear you.
My apologies. Greg is working with the sheriff's office to try to get quicker access to the secure IT room over there for, if there's an emergency. And so they're working through that, but other than that, they have, pretty much open access. I mean, the sheriff's office is 24/7, but sometimes they need to get into a unit very, very quickly. What happened recently was, I believe it was a couple fans went out, which meant the primary service for the Justice Center IT closet temporarily went out. There's a secondary system that kicked in, it worked just fine. But as you can imagine, you don't want to have to sit back and wait over a weekend or something to be able to get in and do those things. So yeah, those conversations are happening, but generally speaking, and they all have each other on the, instant dial on the phone. And then we also have where they read these systems remotely on their phones. I know Greg does, as well as Winona Controls does. And then Greg has put in place for some of the items that can be taken care of by jail staff rather quickly, like a shut off, water and things like that. Instructions where they all are and what to do, how to turn some of those. Also get into the alarm box and turn some of those off so that they can reset those quickly as they're waiting for building maintenance staff to get there.
I
So
assume,
they can mitigate some things.
assume Andy's involved with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one that
Absolutely.
monitors on his phone and that,
Well,
that,
he doesn't monitor, he doesn't monitor, I don't think, the mechanicals of this building,
no,
of the
no,
buildings.
but I'm talking about the IT part.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm certain he does. And we don't monitor his IT things. We just monitor the mechanicals that serve those.
So like the
Yeah.
fans and stuff, I mean, but he would know if when that shut down that it should. I would assume.
No, I think that's then the alarms go off
Mhm.
and there's a conversation then that occurs between Greg or Winona Controls to Andy immediately.
Okay,
So everything-
thank you.
Some details to work out.
Yep. Okay. Number 11, to consider reviewing and approving payments. Everybody's had a chance to look at the payments on the list here. 2.6 million worth.
A lot of it, blacktop and culvert work, so.
Yeah.
Blacktop
Blacktop was 1.9 million.
200 for minimal, rest are. So they look like things that are finalizing some projects, and I moved to approve the payments.
Motion's been made to approve the payments. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, we'll move on to discussion items. Administrator updates. Carol, you
Oh.
just kind of had yours. Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I might think of something before the end.
Okay,
Good for now.
I just wanted to bring up at our land use meeting last week for at a workshop, It was, general discussion, but the thing that popped out to me is that Amelia brought up the fact that the solar company and a wind turbine company that's considering coming in the area and talking to landowners. And they were trying to figure out where we stood on as far as, this solar companies, we're talking quite a bit, quite large. And I know we addressed it in our comprehensive land use plan, but we stressed for residential a lot, mainly, and to preserve farmland. So I think it should be something we should be paying attention to and as far as the turbines part, that would have to have a public hearing and they'd have to have send notice to a lot of people. I was a little surprised on the turbine part because I always thought that our area here wasn't in pathway for wind. But evidently, there's a federal push for all this too, so that's where all this is coming from. For incentives and credits and stuff like that. So I just wanted to make this aware to you guys. More to come, I'm sure.
Well, it was in Comer County a month ago, and solar panels, that's probably taking up 40 acres of the best farm. So I mean, wow, that farm grow grass, weeds, or farmland, or what?
Well, that's where it's gonna come down to is. I know this is really big in Dodge County. They've been dealing with a lot of these big ones. They're talking 1,500 acres under solar.
Under wind, you mean?
Solar, I'm just on the solar
Oh,
part.
solar part, okay.
Yeah, so and Dodge County's been trying to adhere to their comp plan and their ordinances but the state has overruled them, so. Because they want this for their 2040 plan, so.
What's the farmer's option? We can't stop a farmer from leasing the land.
See, that's where it gets tough. I mean, they're offering pretty good money,
Yeah, I know, that's the problem.
I've heard the number of 4,000 an acre for 30 years or 20 years or whatever. I don't know if those numbers are correct.
If somebody comes in and wants to do that. There's a zoning change. You gotta change, is that commercial or does that stay ag?
Those are all good questions. It's in the ag district, so. To me, I would say that's not ag, that's more commercial.
Yeah.
So you'd have to rezone. And we don't rezone very often for commercial out in the middle of the country. So we're gonna have to do some more looking into this and figuring this out. I'm gonna talk to some counties that are dealing with this. Such as Dodge, and I'll talk with Fillmore too and see where they're at. Get some, input from them. What we're gonna be dealing with here, so.
Dodge and Mauer are big things over there, the wind towers, not so much.
Yep.
Well, I see a big.
You
You can still do ag.
You can still do,
farm around.
you can farm around them, that's not as big as an issue as solar where it takes up big land space.
I think that's good for us if you're gonna feed goats.
About it.
Yeah.
Keep the weeds.
I saw some very prime land over Wisconsin. And it would probably 400 or 500 acres. And it was just a nice rolling hill, but it's totally covered with panels. Man, that's in my thought process, but
And if they're gonna start popping up all over, it's gonna change the landscape,
exactly.
so.
Get on Northridge and Winona County.
Oh, there's spots. Spots.
Like I say, we mentioned it in as residential things, but we didn't touch on any of the commercial part of it. So, maybe we need to get more specific in that.
Point. Okay.
Other than that, I think that's for the land use update. That was the main thing that caught my attention. That house is still under review as far as Polka there on the engineering plans being sent back. Get more details.
For the retaining walls system.
Hmm?
More in the retaining wall. and
Yeah. They need to look at everything and not just the engineering for the wall. We need to look at slope and
That's what we told them.
soil types. Yep, needs to get approval from soil water. And Brian's looked at it too, and he didn't think it was sufficient, so. That's all I got. I got a Root River Watershed meeting coming up next week too, so. And I was to the fair this last week and it was, I think everything went pretty well. It's a good fair. Their lean-to that they put on was really nice, it looks good and they got utilized, so that's a good
How
deal.
much of a concern do you think there is to get a big storm with the heavy?
Yeah, I see it's pretty well built though.
It's solid.
They got some good trusses under there. You know, it's not just it's like a truss system, so. I think they factored that in. So. I thought. Yep.
But it's a big surface.
And I noticed. Brian, county shop guys, let the tractor pullers come into the back there to dump off because it was wet and rainy and was mud and. So they could still have their pull and it turned out real good, so.
Terrible.
Yep. Okay, anybody, Dewey?
Didn't have any meetings, got, one coming up next week for, oh, I'm sorry, the following week for, across county solid, but that's a couple weeks down the road. Having some contract things with, XL Energy updating, so that's more to come here in 2 weeks. Other than that, it's pretty quiet.
Well, I went to the fair. I worked at the Ring and Run booth, which was across the aisle from the Houston County Health and Human Services booth. Thursday and Friday, they were doing water testing. They didn't have any volunteers to work the booth on Saturday or Sunday. Then I went to Spring Grove the other night with regard to the daycare issue that they're dealing with. Trying to, the people are trying to figure out a way if they can have a quick recovery or a quick response, but it doesn't appear that there's any quick. As far as that's, I've talked to the high school about. Have kids 33 months. Taking infants. For them to expand and get bigger, one is staffing, two is they'd have to change their license. Which takes time. Facilities, finding people, and then the licensing is what takes that and back. Apparently, even the people that were working in Spring Grove, for somebody else, they still got to there. Check. Yep. That's all right.
Yeah, and like at one time, Spring Grove had the SAC licensing. But, and even though some of the same people would be involved, they have to be.
No quick answers. Concern is people that live in Spring Grove, don't have daycare, closer to the job. Find daycare. Daycare is a big issue. We're working on it. I mean, takes time. Set up in home takes time. A license. I talked to Bethany Moore about this. She said if people come up with ideas, bring them to her, she'll run them up the ladder and see. Maybe this unlikely, but try and see if the state will give them a temporary extension or something.
Sure, this is not the only area that has an issue. So.
No, but she said they have an idea. Like. The other thing we've got an opioid meeting this afternoon at 3.
Hoping.
In room 219 over here to review the opioid monies and what the committee thinks should be done. Still comes back to us.
I was gonna mention. I've read that the state has completed, the Office of Canada's completed their early. Sign up for licensing. And what I've read that there's like 44% were from the state of Minnesota, the rest were from outside the state.
You're kidding.
No. So they gotta sift through all that. There's constitutional issues, whether they throw the ones out of state out or not, so. I mean, it's gonna be, I'm just worried it's gonna be a mess, but. According to the,
You already know the answer to that.
Well, that's a given.
according to the map that I read in the paper. Looked like there was 2 that had applied in Houston County, but I can't verify that. It just, all it had is little dots. So,
Now, is this was the selected group that
it's for social equity.
social equity, I think.
Consideration, yep. So,
Other early applicants have not, weren't in. that.
no, this is
Okay.
just for social equity consideration,
Hmm.
so. They have a lot to sift through and it's gonna probably take some time, I'm sure, so. I've been reading, on our Maconite news things about some of the other counties are doing, see a couple of them put in a moratorium until 2025 until they get it all figured out. Which wouldn't be a bad idea, with something that's allowed under the statute. Then there's some that have done, I think there was one that did something. Passed some ordinances.
As far as money.
Yep. Homestead County, they're adhering to the 1/12/5 rule. I think they're gonna only have 13 in the county. So. There's a webinar coming on with the cannabis select committee. That's coming on Thursday. For people to listen, so I might try to listen in on that. Thursday morning.
Good morning, you said?
Yeah.
Good time,
Yeah,
9 o'clock or something?
I think it was from 10 to 11, but I'll double check.
Okay.
That's all I thought I'd mention that. Seems like you brought up Wolfway and triggered my memory. Bob?
I had the Regional Township Association meeting conference that they had at Good Times. They had over 106, I believe, people from the region that were there. So it was well represented. Got to do the meet and greet, so that was fun. But, it's funny you should talk about the solar because they brought that up too. So a lot of the townships are getting heat, losing farmland and wondering what's happening there for changes. So they actually talked to a couple of legislators that were there. They're actually looking at maybe trying to do a push on some. Rules. There might be more to come there too. It was pretty well attended and good. After that, we had our local township association meetings and that as well. We're a little concerned on some of those changes in our zoning department with Martin leaving and et cetera. And again, that brought up, like they brought up at the last one we were at in the spring about maybe looking at or tweaking the way that they're notified when applications come in. So I kind of told them maybe to try and work with Amelia to come up with a plan to either bring back to us or work out. So it sounds like they work with you on that too, Greg. And then they also visited a little bit again, the 2 per quarter and talked about that.
What was the feeling of the townships on that 2 quarter? Against or for or
Actually,
neutral?
more for than we were against. But they also like the idea of how Fillmore County does it, where it's, kind of by the region of their county too. It's taking into play the logistics of the land, et cetera.
So it's only allowed in certain townships.
But that, okay.
Houston.
Based on the logistics of the land and A great big farm, they don't really like that idea, but somewhere along, you know, like the Lanesboro area, Rushford area. So they. Set. Sag or secret or potential set. So they talked a little bit about that as well. And then it was pretty good meeting. Went long.
Amelia did bring that up at land use about the notifying of townships. What she's trying to encourage is there's a communication gap from when, you know, there's a person on the township that gets these emails, notifications. Sometimes it goes to the clerks, which just doesn't get communicated to the job site. I mean, the supervisors, so. I've been trying to tell townships that, hey, you get on that list for that notification. So then you know what's going on.
It sounds like they need to do some updating on their email lists and
Yeah, yeah. Cause
the other
sometimes,
problem that they're running into is. When they fill out the application, there's a little box that they check online that says whether that they contacted their local township representative. A lot of them are checking that box and they're claiming that they don't get the phone call as well.
yeah, they don't do it. So
Right.
that's the risk you take with it. You're doing everything online.
Right.
When I first became commissioner, I was on the bandwagon to try to make everything paper again, you know. To no avail. So
You know, talking to the neighbor over the fence it's not making notification to the supervisor or.
Right.
the town board.
well, it used to be that they would get you'd get a paper application for a permit, building permit, and then they would go around to the
Signature.
supervisors and get a signature. They like that, you know. That takes time.
That was what we brought up too, is it throws it into a time situation as well. When the application comes in to when they actually meet.
And right now, everything's online, so that makes it hard to do that.
The application comes in, it isn't started until they. Application.
Typically, some people put the cart in front of the horse.
I know.
Mhm.
Depends on what is the start.
Right.
Bring in the application, or when the application has been.
When the application is completed online, that's when it starts, they work on it.
That's the
And
starting of the
notifications are
60 days.
sent to the townships, and if there's no comment back, that's considered, it's a go.
What you're saying is. If it goes to the clerk doesn't get it to the. Board members, and the board members should get notifications.
That's what I've been telling them, that you,
Yeah, that makes
instead of the
sense.
clerk getting that, you should get.
Or both.
Or both.
Yeah, both.
I don't know if there's a limit on that. I wouldn't think so.
There's a discussion, it sounds like it's moving forward, so yeah, made it to land use. Yeah.
Well, I've been around the 5 townships here in the last 3 weeks and. It's all communication. I mean, Amelia sent, I went back, for instance. They had a bullshit. They sent them out. The forms and said, this is what we're doing. Bots.
Sent out the email.
They got that, Brad King said, I got that in the email, he's the chairman. Said, but I couldn't get back in. To the computer, it wouldn't let me in to respond to that permit. He said, I couldn't get in there for some reason. So I told him to get over to you. Get that figured out, why it would not respond. Township as well. The clerk gets it, and if there's nothing on there. Should send back there, we have no response. I think it should go to the clerk and the chair of each township. I think that.
Unfortunately, not all on the computer.
Yeah, I mean, you got some clerks that don't know how to run a computer.
Well, clerks usually do,
Yeah,
some supervisors.
well, I know a lot of supervisors don't. But I mean, we're getting young people on the board that's helping. this computer.
That's getting to be more and more difficult too.
So, I mean, it's a lot of it is just communication. Getting the right system.
Main thing is. Township concerns is driveways. Approaching to their road and stuff, make sure that's all up to snuff. That's their main concern. And the fact that they're getting a permit to build something. Greg, what do you got?
Let's see. I had we got a meeting today on, SB, Dewey
I think so.
Union. Is that what it is?
Actually, that would be later this morning.
And then we got the hearing coming up on Thursday night. I'm on the planning commission and this is kind of in my area, related to the people that want the permit. And who got a lot of business with those people, so I would like to have Eric take my spot on the alternate. I would like to speak.
Well, I'm already an alternate.
Yeah,
for
Tom,
this, So
advise them to be there.
if you can't go, Greg, I'll go.
Well, I mean, I think it'd be in the best interest of the county.
Yep.
I mean, it takes a lot of doubt, question away. I think I should give it a fair shot.
That's fine. Anything else?
Not right offhand that I can think of.
Okay. Tess, you have something you'd like to bring up?
Yes, Commissioner, just in regards to the conversation earlier about facilities, I would, invite, Carol, I think a couple of commissioners have already done the tour. That's Dewey and Bob Burns, but the other commissioners, two at a time, obviously, give you a tour of really behind the scenes, the mechanicals of the structures we're talking about and the programs. I think it took about an hour, Commissioner Burns. I think I'm very proud of the work these folks have done, and I think it'd be very informative for those who have an interest in looking to see what we're really talking about here. And so anytime that's convenient for you, contact me or you can contact Greg directly, but I can arrange that at a common time. And we go through this building isn't that difficult, although the software, they can review the software with you and that monitoring, but what's very, I think, informative is over at the Justice Center, the complexity of it.
What time did you have to get going?
11:30.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we got
I got
full session.
At our last workshop group session, we discussed old jail situation. It was also brought up, Brian, the sheriff, brought up the possibility of, who knows, of having a recreational space in case we do go to be a full-time juvenile only detention center, so that would be the logical spot to put it. I just wanted to get your guys' feelings on that. In our discussion with Rich and Deb there, they talked about, we talked about doing a lease with them to give them the lease to the building. It sounded like they would like 700,000 from the insurance money to go to them right away, and it sounded like it wasn't gonna end there. So what are you guys' thoughts more on that?
My opinion, as far as the sheriff talking about the juvenile holding facility. I think it's way early to be talking about, we need the space for recreational facility. I think we gotta go a couple of years with what we've got to see if it actually works out before we think about expanding it. That's on the National Historic Register, the $700,000 can be used as a fund for matching grants. Used to get grants for making improvements to the building. And we can participate in that manner. But I think the participation ends with the insurance money. And that'll be it. Looking at this budget, I have a little bit of a concern as far as getting rid of the $700,000 and not having it available for other things.
all at once.
All at-
Right. Well, I mean, that's what I brought up, the fact that they could do, they could come to us for appropriation if they can qualify for a grant. But I know Allison brought up that, you know, if you're gonna do a grants for a historical site building, it's gonna be a lot of money. That you have to be adhered.
Interior isn't. This is. The old jail, the interior doesn't go by the historic.
No, I don't believe there are any restrictions on that.
It's not outside.
It's the.
Right, but they're not gonna give you a historic grant to do anything on the inside. It would just be for the outside. If you're gonna get a grant to do something on the inside, they would still want it to go back to the original.
Looking at.
You talking about the state, right? The state. Yes, and we've been down that road several times with them. Maybe even trying to run it back. Um, it doesn't have to be too original. Because original sometimes, that was a whole discussion with the group. Original sometimes is not reasonable or feasible. That particular roof was a painted wood shape. That particular roof, through the members of the Historic Society did some research for us, and that particular roof was, this is just an example. It was a painted wood shingled roof. There is, the Historic Society was not interested in us putting that roof on, but something that had similar appearance, you know, in some kind of composite or things like that. So there are, the other things the accessibility, obviously, some of the features that were original to the building are no longer on the exterior of that building there. So it wasn't putting it back to original, but trying to maintain what is there and what's left of that historic nature is what were looking at that time.
In my opinion, if you're gonna get a grant for it, a historic grant, it most likely would be used for the exterior. If you wanted to use historic money on the interior, you would need to make it to an extent the way the original was. They're not gonna give you a historic grant to just, you know, put up some walls and have a museum in there. It would have to look historic in order to get that money.
But would there be grants that the Historical Society can apply for to put up walls? It would have to go through a different grant.
In my opinion, it would be hard, I think, to get a historic grant for that,
No, but I
but you
mean,
could potentially maybe get other grants.
Other grants.
right,
Does that make sense?
yep, that's what I'm asking, there's other grants besides historic.
Yeah, like a community grant or
Right.
a whatever, right?
And the only thing of any historic value, in my opinion, that's left in there is potentially the staircase, but
Yeah, that's the only, rest of it is.
There's nothing.
there isn't anything.
Like a bear.
And some might argue that and I don't know this, but some might even assert that some of the jail cells could have historic value because they are pretty dang old and the keys are giant and the cranks are, you know, so some of that mechanism might be able to, but I don't see where they'd be required to have grant money to actually keep one of those in place.
We could be historical society, I'd say we leased it for 100 years in the park or whatever. The priority is gonna be the old office and living space part of the jail, not the cell.
They could use them for storage, I
Get
suppose.
that fixed up first. They can phase their way into doing something with the jail cell. There's a lot to do.
If my recollection is correct, the cost is gonna be in the roof and the fascia and that wood trim up on top. which is where your cost probably will come in, and that's where your grant money would go. Be focused towards, and there's been a lot of. We have a lot of work we've done on that for documentation and everything, including what the original paint color was and. We also had not a formal report, but two informal, comments from, structural engineers, two different structural engineers, different firms, that the building itself is sound. So if that's a consideration or a concern you have, it is not in, although it's in disrepair, it's not falling down. They said it'd stand for another 100 years, so
Made out of stone.
Yeah,
it's not going anywhere. And, tuck pointing is in pretty doggone good shape, and so is the basement. Okay.
Well, I think we left it to them to try to, they were gonna talk to Alameda County, see how their system works. Because they lease their old jail over there, historical society down there. So,
Be willing to bet that when they did that with the old facility, it wasn't gutted like this, like this one. They had something to start with.
you know, that's probably true. I know that one in Wisconsin that Rich talks about it, that wasn't gutted either. That was a more easy. Transition to restore it to original. Looks pretty nice.
I don't think we're about building a playground for quite a while.
I think premature.
Is the only area that would be able to be used based on the requirements of the, you know.
Yeah.
Proximity. So
To have a rec,
if you lease this to the historical society,
that's all.
that eliminates the possibility of having a full juvenile.
That's why I brought this up, because, you know, point this out that
And so you
It's
can't
something-
go, 2 years, give it to the historical society and then say, we need it for this, that's probably. not gonna work out. I mean, you could, but. you wouldn't.
Do we have any juvenile? Oh, yes. Yeah, we got. Had a couple in the one days.
That's 3 or 4 the other day.
Okay. Then,
That's
It's
just,
being utilized,
that's just the 8 day.
yeah, they did.
but I mean,
The playground is if they would go to a full-time holding. facility.
How many
A
people?
recreation area.
Yeah, not playground.
If we did that completely to. Any of
We'd have to farm
them,
out,
or
we'd have to farm out our regular.
Or
One
two
or
dollars,
two
choice,
keep it.
We
Huh?
have 3 today.
total separate.
The way Brian,
It's separate.
the way Brian explained it, that it would be, if they were to become full-time juvenile detention center. Cannot house adults in the same building, so same jail, so it would have to, we'd have to. Contract with other counties to take our regular jail inmates to a different county.
Who knows what kind of the. Transportation costs and all the other
Right.
stuff that goes with that. You get into, I've transported and I don't like. it. They're not happy to be in the backseat.
Maybe we should do nothing with.
Well, that's, there's,
It's an alternative.
since the new Justice Center was built, that's what been the policy, we're not doing nothing.
Something.
Okay.
Yep. All right, is there a motion to go into closed session?
Second,
Say that we're going into closed session pursuant to Minnesota statute 13B.03 subdivision 1B. To discuss labor negotiation. That's the reason for the motion.
Yep. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
so,
Okay, Polly, get everybody off. Okay, Allison, Julie made the motion to come out of closed session at 10:54, and then Bob seconded.
I said, Bob Burns.
Bob Burns, right?
The commissioners had a general discussion about negotiations of the various units. And the just a general discussion about the tentative offer that's the tentative agreement, pardon me, that is on the table with the International Operators Unit in unit number 49.
So it was the,
So now there is discussion and potential and consideration
agreement to the TA. Yeah.
and consideration as to whether the board wants to approve or disapprove the TA. Tentative agreement.
So is there any more discussion on the tentative agreement with the 49ers?
Having reviewed the tentative 49ers. Look it over. I'd make a motion to approve tentative agreement that we have negotiated with 49.
Second,
Any further discussion?
Is it appropriate for me? Now that you mention this,
no,
is it appropriate for me to have made that motion? Only from the perspective that a conflict of interest myself as a member.
I would suggest that you recuse yourself from that.
Well, then I will withdraw my motion because of potential.
then I'll make the motion to approve the tentative agreement with.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion's been seconded. To approve the tentative agreement with the 49ers. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? If not, we'll do roll call.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Abstain.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes. Motion passed.
Thank you, commissioners. I'll get a communication sent to the business manager immediately.
Is there any closing public comment
I'll see some.
or any further discussion? If not, is there a motion to adjourn? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
That would be great.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, meeting adjourned.